What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a very special emergency episode of the Soul Hoops podcast. Today, I, Jeffrey Guerrero, am joined by Ryan Hines and Matthias Lindgren on Dame Day. It happened. Damian Lillard has been traded to the Milwaukee Bucks in a 3-team deal with the Phoenix Suns, where Phoenix acquires Yusuf Nurkic, and Nasir Little and Grayson Allen. And Portland receives someone I've never heard of. I can't pronounce his name. I don't even have his name written down, honestly. Portland receives that. DeAndre Ayton, random guy. I think he was on the Suns, like G League 2A contract.
He might as well have been.
Drew Holiday. And then they received the 2029 unprotected Bucks first and 2 unprotected swaps. So it's not less favorable swaps. It's unprotected swaps for 2028 and 2030, which are actually probably pretty valuable swaps as well as picks. But I digress. I don't really care. So
yeah, I did want to mention Tumani Kamara. I'm gonna shoot his name.
That's who I was talking about.
But apologize if I mispronounced that. But he was the guy that was.
Yeah. I couldn't remember his name. I knew it was someone that I've never heard of before.
Yeah.
But anyways,
no, it's all good. I go.
But anyways, big day for our podcast as a whole, because 2 of our fan bases have probably what will be the biggest trade of the last year. Obviously, there's the KD stuff, but even then, that was a little bit different because it was a deadline sell. A lot more moving pieces, but even then, this is 2 top 10 players in the NBA teaming up. So, what are you guys?
Yeah.
I'm gonna let whoever else wants to go first, because I can.
Yeah, Ryan, you can get your thoughts in.
Yeah,
you go
Ryan,
first.
I want to hear the outside
right.
perspective.
Yeah, same.
Okay, so I absolutely love this trade for Milwaukee. I think it's like a home run. I just recorded a video last night that went up today talking about how the Bucks' biggest question this entire year is how can they convince Giannis that the Bucks can still win a championship. I think they just did that. They just showed Giannis they can still win a championship because they traded for Damian Lillard. If you got to think about Giannis right now, what more could he possibly get as proof that the Milwaukee Bucks are committed to winning a championship? Damian Lillard, he completely changes the feel of this team. I mean, in the Giannis era in Milwaukee, they've never had a guard that plays anything close to the way Damian Lillard plays. Obviously, Drew Holiday is a great player in his own right, but he's nowhere near the offensive player that Damian Lillard is, especially in the playoffs, right? Yeah, Drew Holiday's defense has been great and will be great, but he's no Damian Lillard.
Borderline won him that finals. But
he's no Damian Lillard. Let's get that straight. The starting, I got to talk about Milwaukee first because that's the most interesting piece of this all, right?
Yeah,
so Damian Lillard at the point guard. They still have Chris Middleton on the team at the 3, who's now the 3rd option, which is just amazing. Giannis at the 4, Brook Lopez at the 5, at the 2. Who cares? Malik Beasley. Who cares?
My favorite.
It's probably Pat.
My favorite
is Pat.
Pat or Malik Beasley. My favorite tweet I saw today was it was Dame, and then at the shooting guard, it was an animatronic hamster could play the 2, and it would not matter in this team.
Doesn't matter.
No.
This starting 5 is, in my opinion, the best starting 5 in the whole league. I know how good Denver's is, right? We all know how good Denver's is, but even Denver does not have the level of talent that this Milwaukee Bucks starting 5 has.
No,
they just don't. This Milwaukee Bucks team, I think, is I absolutely think they're going to win the championship. In my opinion, yes, the Nuggets have the continuity, but in my opinion, I don't think there's any way the Bucks can't be the championship favorites at this point. I don't want to put all the pressure on them right away, but Dame and Giannis, come on, that's a match made in heaven. Chris Haynes reported today, and that something that we all kind of knew, Dame and Giannis had kind of been flirting with the idea of maybe teaming up at some point. It was just which team was it going to be on? Well, it finally happened, and I just can't the news dropped in class, and immediately I think of Dame Giannis pick and roll. Like that is
yeah.
going to be one of the most unstoppable plays in
Dude.
the league right away.
Yeah.
Like
I immediately thought of the Giannis like weak side block into a Damian Lillard like transition 30-footer.
oh
And
yeah.
it's just like, oh my God, that's gonna be everywhere.
Yeah, and for the Bucks to only give up Drew Holiday, Grayson Allen, and was it 2 picks and a swap?
1 pick and 2 swaps.
One
One
pick
pick
and
and
two
two
swaps.
swaps. That is an insane.
Yeah.
And so the first swap will be in 4 years, which will be essentially the last year of Dame's contract. I think he has 5 total years. I think the last year's a player option, but it's like 50 something million. So he's going to take it at age like 37. It'll be, but for you to only have to give up one unprotected first, only 6 years in the like 6 years is a long time, but in the NBA time, that's a long time. But to only have to give up one actual pick, and that's solely due to the fact that the Phoenix Suns did what they did. Like,
Yeah. Oh, we could get into
only
outside,
one
I don't think
unprotected
that was
first for Damian fucking Lillard. Like, that's
yeah.
crazy.
This is about as low of value from the team that receives a superstar. This is about as low of value as you can give up for a top 10 player, a top 10-ish player.
Yeah.
In the NBA.
It's so weird because I think this was the best offer on the board from rumors we've heard. Like, I'm happy with this offer.
This is
from
better.
What we could have had.
The reason this is better is people look too much to picks when we're evaluating trades. But as Matthias has said, when he's talked about this trade, a lot, all of this stuff, it's very been picks are such an uncertainty, and eventually the value of picks decreases over time. Having a lot of picks is really good really early in your rebuild. We see this for teams like OKC, Houston. Now, look, they have an overabundance of talent. They have way too many picks. They're shipping talent off for nothing. I mean, the Thunder and Houston, to use those two examples, both cut Ty Washington Jr., a first-round pick of literally not the last draft. Cut him for nothing because they have no room on the roster for it. So getting it, and also acquiring a guy like Drew, which we'll talk about, obviously, a contender will give up a pick or two for him, or you're going to get some swaps, or you're going to get a young player from a contender. There's 2 current teams that are searching for a point guard replacement, 3 actually, that are going to be searching for point guard replacements, and they're going to want to give up assets. I know you just, I mean, the Heat might not want to deal with you because you just stiffed them on Damian Lillard, but the Heat are going to need are looking for a guard.
I was saying the Blazers have a chance to do the funniest thing and just
that would be hilarious.
Trade Drew for like Tyler Hero.
That would be funny.
That would be the funniest thing.
But it's like Clippers, Sixers. There's 3 teams that are reported in being interested in Drew. The Bulls.
I would be interested
Sixers,
in the Clippers
and
for sure.
else. Yeah,
Clippers. I like the idea of because they have Batum, and I know he's near his retirement. He can just be a vet. He makes like what 11, 12 bill.
Yeah,
he can be just a guy throwing his money. He can retire as Blazer here in a year or 2. I like Brandon Boston Jr. Like he's not necessarily like a great young talent, but and then I would really want Terrence Mann if that was in that trade. Yeah. That's the main target in there. Terrence Mann and picks. Even though what do the Clippers have to trade? They don't have a lot, do they?
They have salary filler and 1 first.
They have not much.
1 first.
Yeah.
If they had more to trade, James Harden would be on the team most likely.
True.
Yeah. So like Milwaukee, it's a home run for them. Like like there's I don't think there's any way to look at it from the Milwaukee point of view and be like, this is anything short of just a grand slam.
They somehow kept Marjan and other young talent. Like they didn't get any of their young talent.
We didn't give up any of our young talent, and like I said, that's simply due to the fact of Phoenix. I mean, we have spoken last podcast about it with this DeAndre Ayton thing, but I didn't think that it was 100% real. I thought it was kind of fake, to be honest. Yeah. But like Ryan, like you said, like what? Like you're downgrading your center position to save, like, and they didn't even save that much because they brought in Grayson Allen too.
And Nasir Little. Like it's the same salary, money, which I understand wanting depth on this team. I mean, you have a 3-headed monster that's now only there's like you and one or two other teams have a team that good. Yeah. But it's like, why? Like,
what is the purpose?
Yeah,
like,
that's the
I
thing.
It gotta be
obviously
high
I
on the
don't
ceiling
care.
to my
I don't
best.
care, and Portland fans shouldn't care. But Suns
No, it's
fans,
a huge win.
like Suns fans should be like questioning like why. I feel like the
Yeah.
Suns have are being overly aggressive just to be aggressive.
I've seen Suns
Yeah.
fans on Twitter like kind of victory lapping almost with this trade, being like, Ayton's off the team, bring in Nurkic,
They
bring
don't
in
know
depth.
Nurk,
But like
dude.
the fact that this had to happen is so weird. Like
No,
it's complete asset mismanagement from the Suns point of view, and I just like I really hope we get more information about like where that relationship went even worse, like
wrong.
even more south than it already was. Because
Yeah.
Like, because who's at fault? Is it actually Devin Booker and Aiden that's got a problem? Because Chris Paul and Monty are gone. You
yeah,
would think that would mend it a bit, and they were like,
that's
no,
I
get him
saw I
out.
saw that a little bit today. I saw something that I don't remember who it was from, but like something from someone who I think is a credible source saying like, this move could have been influenced by Booker and KD because apparently they just had no trust in Ayton anymore, which that's a whole
They're
other
gonna
topic
have
for
a
itself.
rude awakening for Yusuf Nurkic. I love Nurk, but all the problems Aiden has, other than rebounding, Nurk has, and Nurk still is a lazy rebounder. Like,
Yeah,
like people are Aiden and Nurk have very similar issues, and people are Suns fans. I think are gonna realize that pretty soon. I don't know if they don't. Probably just don't watch a lot of Blazer games up here in the Northwest, but also Suns had to have been high on Nasir Little because
yeah,
I think that Blazers that was so smart moving on from Nasir because I think he was gonna get DNPs.
Yeah.
He was gonna be competing for DNPs or like 8 minutes a game type stuff.
Yeah.
Like
no,
he was
he didn't have a clear role
no.
on
He
this
had
team
no.
because
He
you
barely
just
had a spot.
you just drafted Chris Murray to essentially take his
Yeah.
minutes. I don't know. I think when you're evaluating it from the Suns' perspective, I think you can. There's some negatives, like we said, with the SMS management. There's a clear talent drop off, but getting real players to fill out this bench is very important, and to be able to
Yeah.
have players that can plug into the starting lineup at times is very important. But it is what it is. I'm not going to complain about them getting on the deal. From the Blazers' perspective, I absolutely love this for them. I think getting Ayton is better than getting a Jovic as your center
yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
because he's older, a little bit older. He knows significant, like he's played 5 years in the NBA. Like he knows how to play. You know what he is, and there might be some untapped potential if you really let him loose on a
There is.
Team.
Yeah,
And
like Matthias, I'll let you talk about this all you want in a second, but
yeah,
my thing is like, why, like, if the Blazers want to take a flyer on Ayton, whose stock is at the lowest it's ever been, right? A former first overall pick, who's clearly, in my opinion, has stuff that just hasn't been unlocked yet. Whether it was just the Suns system, coaching, relationships, all of that.
Yeah.
I think there's more to DeAndre Ayton than we've seen. If his stock is that low and you can get him for that cost, like, why not? Like, trade for him. You're hitting the reset anyway. You get a young center who clearly has skill and who has shown that he's been able to lock up when he is engaged and focused. A change of scenery is perfect for a player like DeAndre Ayton. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to make this reminds me a bit of Andrew Wiggins going from Minnesota to Golden State, right? Former first overall pick, had issues with motor, had issues with engagement, didn't do the little things, needed a change of scenery really badly. Obviously, this DeAndre Ayton is not joining the Golden State Warriors here, but he's joining
a rebuilding team.
He's joining a rebuilding team, but it's a change of scenery. I think this could get him motivated to play basketball at a high level again, like he did in the 2021 playoffs.
If they get anywhere close to that, they're getting a really, really good player. Like
there are a lot of similarities
until the finals when Giannis literally went like top 3 finals of all time type stuff. Like Ayton was doing his thing in that playoffs.
I remember people were like trying to say Ayton entering top 5 center talks.
Oh yeah,
like I remember that during that playoff run, and it was weird how quick the switch up was. And I really like the trade. I really like Ayton. I think people underrate him severely. And I think, like you guys said, with his untapped potential, there's a chance he's our second option at his peak. Like with this roster construction now, I still think either Scoot or Ant is going to be the one in the future. But Aiden, I think, has potential to be a solid 2 option at the center position.
Yeah.
He really does.
Yeah, and
Like,
this
he
also
has talent.
And also for bringing in a young guard that's a very good passer and hyper athletic in Scoot Henderson, giving him a real center option that he can put the ball into the post and like Aiton will do work in the post. So having that available to a team that is going to need to work out some kinks when it comes to the offensive end of the ball, they're going to have to find an identity throughout the season. But getting that for a young guard is very good, very, very important. And this also, it gets rid of the distraction. Media day is next week, and getting this taken care of before the weekend is grade A, top of the line stuff. I'm for the Buck side of it, we've said it. This is an absolute slam park home run. This is going to be rivaled as like the best or the second best trade in the history of this franchise.
Yep.
Like, depending how the future goes, but this is obviously the best player that Giannis and Dame have ever played with. They have never played with even close to this caliber.
Dame's best forward that he ever played with was LaMarcus Aldridge when Dame was like a rookie.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then if you talk about prime Dame, the best forward he ever played with was Alfred Gamino. I guess you could say Jeremy Grant, but honestly, like Alfred Gamino was a 2-way demon, man.
Yeah.
Not really, but
I would say
Jeremy
Jeremy's
Grant.
better than him.
But Giannis is what, 40 times the player that Jeremy Grant is?
Oh yeah.
And that's not a slight at Jeremy Grant. Giannis is just, he's top 20 all time. Yeah, he's top 20 all time.
Like, this is going to fix all of the issues from the offensive end of the floor that the Bucks have had for the last 5 years. Like,
the Bucks are going to be hard to scout. I think they're going to start off hot because no one's going to have a scouting report on them because they have a new head coach who has never been a head coach before.
Yeah.
So no one knows actually like what scheme he's going to run. And they have a whole new offensive personnel that they have no idea how they're going to run it. I think they're going to be hard to figure out early on.
This is going to be an interesting start. And you know what's a great part about this is my favorite aspect of this overall is you get a guy that matches the timeline of the team that we currently have, but is like way better. So your window is still open for 2 to 3 years, fully championship contending level. You get those 2 to 3 years where you're like, we're the best team in the NBA. But he's a top 10 player. He's significantly better than any player that has ever been on this roster with Giannis and probably ever will be, because pairing top 10 level players is very, 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 very hard to do. Like, there's only 2 teams like that have 2 top 10-ish players, with the Lakers and the Bucks. And the Lakers had to give up like 6. And they had to give up like 6 first-round picks and like every single young player on the roster. So obviously that's going to be a huge change. But overall, I'm super, super excited for this. I want to talk a little bit about the reporting that has gone on with. There's obviously, after this trade happened, there's been a lot of news coming out. And one thing I do want to talk about is from Mark Stein, which is a semi-reliable source. Mark Spears, is it? It's Mark Spears. Mark Stein's someone else.
Mark J. Spears.
Yeah. He reported that the trade talks for Dame this came out like right before we started, so I don't know if this does, but pretty much that the trade talks, the Blazers were kind of waiting it out throughout the last month and a half, 2 months. Like, let's see what's going on here. Let's see what teams are interested. We'll let the teams offering up stuff give us their packages, and time will tell. We have time. And throughout the last week, it really ramped up, especially through last weekend, which we've seen, which nobody believed, but apparently it was true. And turns out that the Miami just decided that they didn't want to up their offer again. So they landed their essential option was centered around Tyler Hero, 2 picks, and whatever else, like some random filler for a contract. And they were like, no. And they didn't want to get a third team in, so they just stopped. And then pretty much the Blazers had a conversation with Dame, like, is there anywhere else you want to go? And Brooklyn and Milwaukee were the 2 other places. They called them up, and Milwaukee got the 3-team trade done today. And that's the end of it.
We got to have a conversation about Pat Riley for a second,
because
this is now, I'm seeing this tweet right now. This is from Evan Siddery. In consecutive off seasons, 4 superstars had the Heat on their short list of preferred destinations: Donovan Mitchell, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Damian Lillard. They struck out on all 4 of them, and it's because Miami was too stingy in the negotiations, and they weren't willing to give up enough to make it happen.
It's terrible. It's terrible. You got to make the trade.
You got to make a trade. Like you're failing Jimmy Butler and Bam and the Miami Heat team by not making these trades and not being aggressive in these negotiations. Because Pat Riley has struck out on now the 4 superstars in a row. Like, if I'm a Heat fan, that's unacceptable to me. It just is.
Yeah, and here's the biggest part. It is not about talent subtracted added. Kenny Beecham tweeted about it, and he was talking to Heat fans about it on Twitter yesterday. It's not about the actual talent or players that you brought in / lost. It's that seeing that you're so close to winning a championship and you have a superstar player pretty much begging for help. And there are players begging you to bring them to your team, begging you. Bradley Beal went for nothing, and you were his second team.
Yeah, they could have gotten Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
Really easily. Really
literally
easily. And I think
0. He went for 5 seconds.
And people are always like throughout this whole process, we're not giving up Jovic, Hame, and Tyler Hero in these trades. And I'm like, Damian Lillard is better than all those guys combined, dude, with
or ever will be, probably. Or ever will be.
And it's like
3 to 4 years of healthy prime. Like, the crazy part is Dame is old, but Dame is a player that is not going, like, he will probably slow down with age, as all players do. But his ability is never he's always going to be a generational 3-point shooter. It's never going to go away.
He just had the best offensive season of his career. He actually he rivaled Jokic in a majority of offensive engine statistics. Like, Jokic is like 1 of 1 offensive engine. And and usually when you look at those stats, he's all the way up here on the graph, and second place is here. Dame was like 99th percentile, insane offensively this year.
Yeah, and with the Heat, it's not like they have years and years to wait this out.
No,
Jimmy Butler is like 34, 35.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
how old is Jimmy? Let me look.
They don't have all the time in the world to keep on kicking the can down the road and being like, we got to hold on to our assets. We got to hold on till a team actually will just give their star up for free. I mean,
and there's a team that did, and I don't blame them. If they thought that Dame was going to request a trade and they were like, we'd rather pursue Dame than Beal and whatever, I get that. But then you have to be aggressive in that pursuit.
I also
if you're going to bail, you have to be aggressive in your
I also think they just got a little bit complacent with their expectations too, because the way they approach this is like, okay, so because 2 months ago, Dame is like, I want to go to Miami. At the time, the Miami are the only team that actually have a package, right? They're the only team that is actually reported to be interested.
Yeah.
Right. The Miami Heat at that point are like, okay, we'll just keep our offer on the table, not change it, ride it out. They'll say yes eventually, or he'll eventually end up on the team. Even people thought it'll just happen. He'll just be on the Heat, but we saw that
and a lot of people are getting to the point too where they were like, I don't think this is going to happen anymore. And we've talked about it. Well, I was like, you can't with 100% confidence say that Dame to the Heat's going to happen anymore, because it hasn't.
Yeah.
And that's why it was so ridiculous all offseason. Any discussion about the Eastern Conference, who's a contender, blah, 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 standings, over-unders. Guess what? Everyone's like, well, Dame's going to be in Miami. Why aren't you picking him as a top 3 seed? He's not. And now he for sure isn't. So
Yeah.
what are you doing?
The Heat sat
Oh
on
my
their
God,
hands. They
You got
did.
you got Kyle Lowry as your starting point guard again. I hope you're fucking happy. Like
dude.
I genuinely, and also all of the media outlets for the last 2 months about this Giannis, he's gonna request a trade next summer, blah blah blah. The Bucks front office, even Bucks fans, if you're a Bucks fan watching this and you're like this, the Bucks front office has never done anything. This John Horst and the Bucks ownership group has one of the most aggressive teams in the NBA year in and year out.
They get shit done.
They
Every time
traded
Giannis
5
is poised-
second-round picks for
Yep.
Jay Crowder last year because they thought he was a missing piece. Don't ever tell me that John Horst is not an aggressive GM and then he's just sitting on his hands.
Every time Giannis has said, "Hey, I want a better piece," they've
They
gone
go
and gotten a
get
better
it.
piece. Yeah, and honestly, like I thought they may have overpaid for Drew, and in the long run, they didn't. Like at the time, my first reaction was,
But
"Oh,
trade picks
in hindsight,
picks and cap worked very differently 3 years ago than they do now.
They won
So
a
that's-
championship.
Yeah, we won a championship, so who cares?
Oh, right now, I'm not saying they overpaid, but like
Yeah.
at my first reaction, I was like, "Oh, they overpaid." My first reaction here is, "Holy shit, Milwaukee fleeced." Because I want to talk about this. They didn't give up Marjon. They didn't give up Andre Jackson. They didn't give up who's the guy you really love?
Chris Livingston.
I think
Chris Livingston.
They didn't give up any of those guys, which I think all three of those guys have good potential and they fit holes in our roster.
Yeah.
Like that is a one thing. I was really happy with getting Keon and Nasir and Nurk off because those two DNPs and Nurk, and I think Aiden's an upgrade. But I'm pissed at what we got from Milwaukee. I kind of am. I would have loved to see
It's all
some
gonna
young wings.
It's all gonna be dependent on what you get back in a Drew trade. Like they said that they don't plan on bringing him on and playing him, and Drew doesn't want to. So I kind of assumed that there's going to be veteran teams contending teams interested. There's a lot of teams that have pick pieces that they would give up. So that can be intriguing.
Yeah.
I really think it depends what he goes because this trade is not finished. This trade is not finished for Portland. Portland's side of this is not done yet. Milwaukee's and Phoenix's are done.
I think it's a bad move by Portland to rush into a Drew trade personally.
I don't think they'll trade him for nothing because Joe Corn has clearly shown that he's not willing to rush into a bad trade just to get a guy off that doesn't want to be there. So that's one thing.
I just want him there for the mentorship. Like, I think if we could get Drew to play half a season, that would be great.
You could trade him in December.
I would love to trade him at the deadline because I know like the age don't line up perfectly, but I could really see this as an OKC light.
What's a team with some
like
wings?
Chris Paul comes in, plays 1 year, helps develop with the young guys, especially Shai, and you see growth. We got 3 young guards that all could use some growth on the defensive end, and Drew Holiday is the best person maybe in the last 2 decades to learn that from.
How would you feel about a Drew trade to Minnesota, Ryan? If you obviously you probably don't want to switch up mid-season again because you'll be doing it for like the 3rd year in a row.
Yeah.
But would you give up like I don't know, like it would be Mike Conley and like whatever else. Like it would be like another $8 million you need to fill in.
I have been seeing a lot of other Wolves fans talk about Drew Holiday and the team, and I think on the court he's a great fit with what this team is trying to do.
That'd be a crazy defensive team.
It would be a crazy defensive team, but I not only do I think it's not going to happen, but I just don't really know how into that I'd be just because I can't think of a package in my mind that would really make sense from the Wolves side to trade over. Like I think Mike Conley would have to be out the door, which doesn't make much sense to me.
Mike Conley's 24 million. Drew's contract is 36. So you need 12 million extra. So
and they'd have to throw in like Naz Reid, which I am strongly against.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
I would love that. I would love Naz Reid. I would get a Naz Reid shirt ASAP.
We aren't doing that.
mean, guys, I'm just going to list guys. This is not actually what would be in the trade package, but guys that would equate to around there. Naz Reid at 12 million would make it exactly work. Kyle Anderson at 9, Shake Milton at 5, Troy Brown Jr. at 4. Obviously Jaden McDaniels untouchable. And you could also you could possibly give up Leonard Miller, but I don't think you would really want to do that, especially a team that's lacking draft capital and they got a really good prospect to fall to them in the draft. So
yeah, it's like we don't even have like a lot of
or Nikhil Alexander-Walker.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of picks anyway, right? So if Portland is looking for picks, like we have nothing to offer there. If they're looking for young players, like young wings, like obviously McDaniels is untouchable, so like that just can't happen.
This is worst case scenario for the Wolves, but if you like Jaden McDaniels and you can't come to an extension and there's like maybe we have to trade him, would you do it then? I don't know if you would really want to do that, but
yeah, no,
probably not. Yeah, I would say just pay him.
Yeah, the McDaniels extension, I think like if they can't come to an agreement before the start of the season, which things are trending toward that not happening.
Play out the year.
Yeah, play out the year, see what happens. Like honestly, the worst case scenario is that the Wolves tell McDaniels, "Hey, go out there, see what offer you can get from another team. We'll match it." Like, I don't see a scenario where
he's not going.
The Wolves end up letting McDaniels walk or trading him because
I agree.
McDaniels is he's far too important to what this team is trying to do and the future of this team because, like, obviously Anthony Edwards is everything, but McDaniels is almost just as important when it comes to the future core of this team. So, no, but the Drew Holiday thing, like, obviously it would be a match made in heaven as far as on the court fit, but I just don't see an avenue to get there that really makes sense for the Wolves or even makes sense for the Blazers. I mean, like, what are the Blazers going to do with Mike Conley other than just like...
Yeah, like at that point, it's better to keep Drew.
Just keep Drew.
I feel like the one thing Drew out, we're going to get a mid.
The one thing is
mid picks and a mid old guy, like a mid vet.
Yeah, so the one thing that could happen is since Mike Conley's a little bit less salary, a team that's looking for a veteran point guard might be able to negotiate a little bit better because they'd be more willing because it's only $24 million, which is not that much. Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote down some teams that could be interested in Drew. I don't think like a lot of these teams, like I don't really know what their package would be, but just teams that I would expect to be pursuing Drew in trade talks would be Clippers, Heat, Lakers, Celtics, and maybe like the Spurs if they kind of wanted to go that route. It's just like all the teams that have been looking for a point guard for the last like year or two.
Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams, and something salary filler.
Yeah. I don't think it could happen.
Robert Williams, I would rejoice. I would be so happy. We have had no defensive centers in the city of Portland since I've been born, dude. Okay. It's like Aiden's not even that good of a defensive center, and it's like he might be the best one we've had since I've been alive, which is just crazy. I do want to talk about the Blazers roster though a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it's so hard with the Drew trade. I do think I was actually intrigued by the Lakers. I wanted to hear your idea for a package from the Lakers first, actually.
It would be centered around D'Angelo Russell, $17 million, and then probably a Jared Vanderbilt extent, possibly, but he hasn't hit his extension. Actually, no, didn't he get extended?
Yep.
It's not updated on Fanspo. So he makes about $12 million a year, I think. So that's about $29 million. Then you need another $5 million. So that could be one of the young guys that they recently, and plus one of the guys that they recently drafted. So like a Maxwell Lewis, and then maybe like, I don't know.
Did they draft any bigs like forwards at all?
You want Jackson Hayes?
Christian Wood?
Christian Wood. Yeah, but that could be interesting. I don't know how they'd get to 36. I don't think they would want to give up Austin Reeves.
No way.
No. I don't think they would want to give up Rui. So
no. Yeah, I would love Rui on the team. I think for the Blazers, the avenue they have to go.
If you could get Rui, that'd be nasty.
That would be really good. I think they have to go for a forward or a big. Like
that's my thinking. It's like I just don't really know if I'd love them flipping Drew for yet another guard.
You know, it'd be
Yeah.
hilarious. It'd be a Bulls thing to do. Like Patrick Williams and Lonzo's contract
Oh,
to get it
I
off.
was thinking about that.
Like
Yeah,
Bulls
Patrick
fans would
Williams.
probably like dead ass not go to games anymore if they traded Patrick Williams for
Yeah.
like 2 years of Drew Holiday. But
Yeah.
one thing I do want to bring up is the Bucks have opened up a roster spot now, so they can officially sign a free agent. I think they'll wait till after camp to possibly bring someone in because they have, like I've said, the 4 guards that are on 2-way contracts: Ty Washington, Lindell Wigington, Josian Gortman, and Amari Moore. So all of those guys are on 2-ways right now. All 4 of our 2-way contracts are used by guards. So I would assume that one of them is probably going to get their contract guaranteed. And it's possible that if none of them are looking like a NBA ready player, which I think Ty Washington Jr. is. I think Ty Washington Jr. can play backup point guard for a team. I think if none of those guys look, you'll probably look to sign a guard, but there's also a chance that they look to move to sign a defensive type wing, but not many good defensive wings around the market because if they were good, they would be on a team because every single team needs wings. But
Exactly.
I would not be surprised if the Bucks are not done would look to make another deal sometime during this season.
Thinking the same thing. Another small, like, just rounding out the roster move is coming for the Bucks.
A defensive minded wing. If you could get, let me look at a team here. There's a team that has 2 defensive wings that I'm currently thinking about. So the Brooklyn Nets have 2 guys that I'd be interested in: Dorian Finney-Smith and also Royce O'Neal. If you could get either one of those, yeah, Royce O'Neal is a little bit less contract. He's only on a 1-year deal, but the Nets, I actually saw a Nets report the other day. Apparently they had a pre-training camp news conference and pre-media news conference, and they said that they want their young guys to play. So they want Noah Clowney to play. They want Tariq Whitehead to play. They want to see what these guys have. So moving one of those small forward / power forward guys, I'm just saying, if we could get one of those guys, I would be absolutely ecstatic. Like, absolutely ecstatic. But it would be a little bit harder. We also do. Portland is officially on tank watch, obviously, as we knew. We have their 2nd round pick next year.
Are they on tank watch, though? We look like I like our roster. I think we're like borderline playing watch now, like 11.
Yeah, but is there really that many? How many teams in the West are not doing that outside of the Spurs? Let's name the worst teams from last year. Rockets, are they going to be trying to win?
Yes.
Yep. Portland.
Yeah, but they're gonna suck.
Utah. Yeah, I'm just saying though. Like Utah.
Yeah.
Utah's going to want to win.
Be better than
Dallas was the 11th seed last year. They're going to be one of the.
They'll be way better.
There's 3 teams that I think that are actually bad.
Yeah.
Maybe 2. And Portland might be the 2nd worst team in the conference, and I don't think that's actually a knock on the roster that Portland has right now. I think it's more speaking to how many teams are actually trying to win right now in the NBA.
There's a lot of playing contenders in the West.
There's not a lot of teams that are full on tanking this year to start the year off, at least.
Yeah, I mean that's like.
Does the East have a single team that's going to be trying to tank right off the bat?
Wizards.
Other than Wizards, but even then, I don't think so. I think they're going to be they have a lot of good vets on their team, and they have a lot of guys.
Yeah,
so
the league's really talented.
I think they want to lose, but like I'm saying,
Yeah.
day one, like a team that's like we're going to be bad. I think the Wizards and Spurs are probably the only 2 in the NBA right now who are like they want to be bad. Because
that's where the league is, right? Like with the new CBA and the way the play-in tournament has completely changed, like the landscape of competition in the NBA as far as how many teams think they have a shot every year. That's the new reality from now on. We aren't going to be seeing like 3 or 4 teams in each conference tanking and trying to be bad. Like it's going to be competitive every single year. And if you aren't being aggressive and making the moves to jump ahead, you're going to fall behind.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to say too about the Bucks for future moves. So we'll have 2 more picks eligible to be traded at the end of next season, which is interesting because if this team is not healthy again with Chris Middleton dealing with injuries, although I think everybody wants him to be a lifelong Buck at this point, If
Mhm.
Chris is still dealing with injuries and he can't stay on the court, I think there's a chance that he could get traded next season for someone as well. So,
Yeah, I think that's fair.
and they'll be, but I honestly cannot say enough. Obviously,
Mhm.
this is awesome for me. I'm going to try to get down to, or up to Milwaukee for the first game of the season because
I'll definitely be at the first Milwaukee game in Portland.
yeah, this
Those
is
tickets are probably
also,
already sold out.
I think this is a win-win for the pod as well. My
I
favorite
agree.
team and
I think
Matthias's second favorite team.
the only loss, the Marjan Beauchamp was not included. That's
Yeah.
it. Pacific
Yeah.
Northwest kid, and he fits our whole. He should have been included. And then now it's like we're searching for a young wing in this Drew Holiday trade, and it's like if we bring back a guard, and I actually might be a little pissed at that because you guys have 3 young wings.
Yeah, I don't think
probably could have been
think
included.
From how these trade talks went throughout the summer. I think the Portland is fully aware of what type of roster they have and who they're trying to acquire.
I will say though, I do like our roster construction. Obviously, skill level wise, we're not better than we were last year, but in terms of balance and play style and how all these guys are gonna be, like, I actually see us being a cohesive basketball team.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, which I think is great.
Obviously, because
it's been really, really hard to watch.
Yeah, obviously, because you will influence me on what games I'm watching. I will be tuning into a lot of Blazers games, at least to start the season. But this team also should just be a team that everyone's watching. I don't think people actually grasp, because of the Dame stuff and having Shaden and Anthony on the roster already. I don't think people grasp how good of a prospect Scoot actually was. This guy might be probably the best guard prospect in the last 10 years at least.
Yeah.
I
think he's the second best. I think Markel. I think Markel was, before he got hurt, going into the draft, Markel was such an he was insane prospect. But Scoot has a playmaking level coming into the league that I don't think we've seen in a very long time.
I mean, I think
he's going to come in a high level.
I think Lonzo is kind of in that conversation with best point guard prospects. But even then, I think you could say Scoot is better. Maybe he doesn't have the hype, obviously, but I think you could very well say that Scoot is like a more ready, polished prospect.
He's a more well-rounded, polished version of Lonzo.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's might be why I'm so high on the Blazers, because I really think if Scoot is really who we think he is, a generational prospect, and let's say he's NBA ready now because he's been a pro for 2 years, that's what we're expecting, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a chance he rivals Victor Wembanyama for Rookie of the Year. There's a chance he wins it. That's the whole point. That's been this whole hype.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people were hating on the Brandon Miller pick, because Scoot has been a prospect that has been talked up to rival Victor. And if he does that and is a great rookie and is a Rookie of the Year contender, you have Anthony Simons that is probably going to put up better production. He's younger, he's going to improve, and he's going to be the one option. You have Jeremy Grant, who's a proven 20-point per game scorer. You have DeAndre Ayton, who has his issues, but he's a proven winner. And you can talk about it as roster construction. He wasn't the winner. Chris Paul and Devin Booker did. He was part of the rosters. He had huge moments in winning environments. That's something that Nurkic never had.
Yeah.
Never. And it's I think there's a chance that team could gel and overachieve. I don't think we're gonna win a play-in game or maybe even play the play-in, but I think we'll compete and we'll be a good team. And I wouldn't be shocked.
I don't think like I've said, I don't think there'll be a team this year that's going to be Pistons bad, where it's you don't want to watch this team play basketball at all.
There's too much talent, even left over on the Blazers, you've been saying, Matthias. I mean, they aren't like the Pistons where they're in the rebuild, but they are left with nothing. It's like Jeremy Grant and DeAndre Ayton are already proven NBA players. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
they're there on the team, and Anthony Simons is also a proven NBA player who is going to get even better now that Dame is off the team.
He was
So
better. He was better when Dame was off the floor, anyways. Last year, like Dame
Yeah.
was holding his place out back. We've been calling him Mini Dame for like 2 years.
yeah, so this Blazers floor is already like way more solidified than nearly all the other teams that are kind of like in the rebuilding phase. And
Yeah, I think it all just it really just depends on Scoop and it depends on Shaden. I think those two guys are really what's going to take us out of the rebuild. And I think if they are if they reach their ceiling, I honestly, there's not a lot of roster moves I see us making. Obviously, Jeremy Grant probably would not be on the team.
Also, that's another thing. They signed Jeremy Grant to that extension. They could easily get two good two above average pieces plus a pick for Jeremy Grant at the deadline.
Exactly. Or they could hold on to him. They don't.
For example,
they have power.
Yeah. So for example, like I'm just going to random team to throw here because they're going to need like defensive help. A team like the Mavericks, if they're like Grant Williams, like experiment and like Tim Hardaway Jr., like, and like they have a trade exception for like 17 million, I think, or 5 million. Sorry, not 17 million. That's a different team that has a huge one. There's a one team that has like, is it the Nets? Do the Nets have like a ton of trade exceptions or something like that?
Probably I think they've traded 3 superstars.
Oh yeah, the Nets have one for 19 million, 6 million, 18 million. They have like 45 million, like 50 million. That's ridiculous. But anyways, like teams are going to be giving. There's teams where free agency signings and trade acquisitions don't work out, and they want to get rid of them, and they'd rather swap them up. And also, Jeremy Grant, although the contract is massive, absolutely massive, is a player that can literally fit on all 30 NBA rosters with no issues. So,
and I don't think his contract is as bad as it seemed at first, because I think like players like Cam Johnson signed within the realm of him, and I think he's a way better player than Cam Johnson.
Yeah,
personally, I would say way better. I think he's a better player than Cam Johnson. So,
how much is his contract?
I know there was some weird like guarantee things with Cam Johnson's contract.
So Jeremy's is 27 this year. 29, 32, 34, 36 player option.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 123 million over 4 years. I thought it was more than that. Actually, I'm not gonna lie. But even then, that's that 27 million. Like we were talking about with Mike Conley. That's not a hard number to reach.
No, and I think the Blazers have all their pieces. They have a playmaking scorer and point guard. They have an off-ball combo guard that can have the ball in his hands as well. Who's an elite shooter.
Yeah.
They have the one issue that they're running into is if Shaden Sharp can play the small forward. Can he be like Jaylen Brown?
I think he can.
I think he can too.
It's the modern NBA. Like people always talk about that. Like at the end of the day, the modern NBA is so different than traditional positioning would otherwise think of. Like realistically, if you're playing the 3 and you're the 3rd best player on the team, now probably 4th best player on the team, what are you seeing the best wing defender? No. Like if he's
the best
playing,
wing defender's going on Anthony or Jeremy.
Or Jeremy Grant, like what's the like you're not gonna like, so that's why I don't worry about it too much. And also playing alongside a guy like Jeremy Grant, like he's a really good defender. If you need someone to guard a wing that he can't guard, you let him take him. Like but
and it's like I also think
you're not gonna, if you're not trying to win, who cares? Dude. Who cares? Honestly, that's what I say. If you're not trying to win, who cares how good your defense is? Just
run the experiment with him as small forward. Give him like the rest of his contract, and it's like if you absolutely need to trade one of the 3 guards when it comes to it, and you have to make a decision if they can't play small forward. That's it.
Yeah.
Like why rush it?
He can also play off the bench. He could be a bucket getter. He can be a fun player off the bench, like I've said.
Yeah, I think they should experiment with him starting at small forward near this.
I would start
latter half of the season.
I would start him. Give him as many. He's the rawest prospect on the team. Give him and let him run with good play. Do not put him out there with a lineup of like Matisse and a bunch of like BS. Like do not put him out a lineup where he's got to be the only one that knows how to score and like it's
Yeah.
him, Matisse
Well,
Thybulle, Chris Murray.
he's proven to be a really good off-ball player already as a rookie. Like his issue is whenever he had the ball in his hands, his efficiency went down like crazy. But he was a really good cutter, really good finisher off of cuts, and a really good shooter off of catch and shoot. And it's like, him and Scoot, he's gonna love Scoot. That's all it is. The lobs, the passing, like Anthony's gonna love Scoot. I think Scoot is more of a pass first guy. I think Dame is probably a better passer. Like he's more experienced, he's a veteran. Like, but Dame's a score first guard who's a really good passer. Scoot is a pass first guard who's looks to be a solid scorer, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I really think that, like, in my opinion, the high comp for Scoot is Russell Westbrook. That's what I see.
I think he'd be. I don't think the weird thing about Russ is like Russ had that really, really high peak season, but like I think he could be just as good at Russ or better than him at all three aspects of.
I have a comp that's now I have Isaiah Thomas, hyper athletic Isaiah Thomas, but like Pistons Isaiah Thomas.
Okay, that's what I thought you were talking about. I was like, what? So
you were giving me
also
the look
Celtics
IT.
Isaiah Thomas. Look, I mess with you, but I'm sorry, man. We're not signing you. He tried to. He tried it, man. But I respect the guy, but it's not happening.
Play style wise, I actually think IT is a good comparison though for Scoot.
Yeah,
he's a better defender than I think Scoot will ever be, but I think Scoot has a lot of defensive potential. So we'll
defense
see.
Again. Defense is so different in the modern NBA. You don't have to. You don't have to be able to lock down, because I think a lot of teams have come to the realization like you are not going to lock down a superstar. So just do what you're going to do. Like, and I feel like that was so different. Like in like even the early like 2010s and 2000s, like teams were always like, we have to stop LeBron. You're not stopping LeBron. So just worry about everything else. Just do everything else well. But I think we've talked a lot about the Blazers side of this, but I think again, and the Suns part is really not that much to talk about. You downgraded talent for depth. It's understandable, but it's weird. But I think we still this Milwaukee team. I mean, I want to like, this makes them the best team in the NBA, correct?
Yeah,
like
I don't want to write them off as a championship, like easy championship, like buy them in. But dude, I don't think enough people have seen what Damian Lillard can do on a fucking basketball court.
Oh no, people know that Dame's good because he's Dame, and even though he's in a small market, very similar to Giannis, people know that he's in a small market, so they don't watch a lot of games, but they know he's good because it's like, oh, why is this guy like this like random small college guy that like, why is he always on my feed all the time? Like, like he's been great for so long. Like, I wonder what he's really doing, but he's not winning. It's like, they're gonna see. Like that first playoff like atmosphere where he like,
oh my god, he's responsible for some of the biggest playoff games in the last like decades, and it's like,
I saw that. I saw I got the OKC. The OKC shot was back on my timeline today.
Yep.
I was just getting hyped.
It's one of those things where I see people like saying that they downgrade or the defense is going to be an issue. Dame's going to light everybody's ass up in the Eastern Conference. There's going to be a 30-10 game and a 40-20 game by Giannis and Dame like 2 weeks into the season, and people are going to actually like
also
see what the hell happened, because I think it's dangerous, really, really dangerous.
Is there any guard in the East out like? It's like Trae Young, but like, is Trae Young the only guard in the East where it's like you need like an actual defensive mastermind on him to stop him? Like, who's the second best guard in the East? Jalen Brunson? Like, Jalen Brunson's very good.
It's Halliburton or Brunson.
But like, I don't think I'm talking about like more playoffs. Oh, I guess like Garland and
Mitchell.
But even then, like they play a type of like Mitchell plays like a type of offense where it's like, as long as you're not literally clueless on what's going on in the basketball court,
you can match.
You can like stay around them because you take off their slack. Like that's the thing that's great about this is like you have a generational defender behind him, and you have another defender that is top 5 at his position in defense, top 3. So,
Yeah.
like, you don't need to worry about that. Like, if they're getting to the rim, they're gonna get smacked around. They're not getting easy shots off.
Yeah, something that I really like about this Bucks team that we got to talk about more is that, like, obviously, yes, Dame and Giannis is like probably one of, if not the best duos in the NBA.
I think it's the best.
The fact that Chris Middleton is still on the team and is healthy, is going to be healthy this season, and he's going to be like the third option. He is going to like fill in all the
double.
It's so crazy because Giannis, Chris Middleton, and maybe even Brook Lopez are like the best players Damian Lillard has ever played with, and they're all going to be on the same roster.
Yeah, for sure. Like, honestly, this Dame, Giannis, Chris is more of a big 3 than it is like a duo, because Chris is.
I can agree with
that. When Chris is healthy, he's so damn good.
Yes.
Like, and he's still on the team.
Yeah.
He's still here. He's going to be healthy this season for the first time in a while. Like, they're just going to be a killer team.
There's going to be games where they might be responsible for like 90, 100 points. That's just those 30. And it's like, that's stupid.
This is 2 of the best single offense. Also, this is 2 guys that average. I don't think this is a guy that averaged 32 points per game and a guy averaging 31 points a game last season teaming up. A guy averaged 31, 14, and 5, and a guy who averaged 32 and 7 are playing on the same team next year.
Oh,
like it's ridiculous. And this depth, I've been saying it. I said eventually this team has to put some stock into some other players developing while we're trying to win. We can't wait and keep them on the roster. We've already tried that. Marjan, Andre Jackson, AJ Green is a really good shooter. Like, you need to, like, it's time. Like, this franchise, this coaching staff needs to be committed to developing talent in a positive way while they're winning. Like,
yeah, and I do think Dame is going to help with that. I think Marjan is going to see a lot of help from Dame. I think Dame is taking
Ty Washington Jr. is on this roster. Dude.
He gets to learn from Dame.
Yeah. Yes, every single bad thing in Ty's game is things that Dame is an all-time great at.
Yeah,
perimeter shot creation
is the only guard I've seen that's gotten drafted and Dame was like, all right, I want out. But like, because he was drafted to be the replacement, I get it. But Anthony came in, and when Anthony and Gary Trent were drafted, Dame, like, he calls him like little bro and all that. Like, still now, and like Gary Trent's in Toronto, and they're still close. I think that's the relationship you'll see with Dame. Also, nothing I haven't seen him talk about. This is probably the best leader and the second best leader in all basketball on the same team. Yeah, you could probably the third best. I've got to throw LeBron in there, but Giannis and Dame are both great leaders, and they've proven to be great leaders. And I think that's an underrated thing. And also, continuity in this roster could be amazing.
Yeah, one thing I do want to shout out, which has been very glossed over because all Bucks fans are very excited about this, obviously. But I just want to give out a shout out to Jrue Holiday. He was one of my favorite players in the league before he came here, and while he was here, he was one of my favorite guys. A great person, did a lot for the state, the city of Milwaukee, a lot for the community. He's going to be 21's going in the rafters. I can tell you that for sure. So it's sad to see Jrue go, but when you have an opportunity like this come up, it's something that you have to take advantage of.
Yeah, you have to take. Poor timing too, with him saying he wants to stay with the whole.
Yeah, that career. Literally yesterday. But I have a feeling that the Bucks are an organization that keeps everything very in-house, but they're also very communicative about what's going on with the players, especially the star players. I mean, Chris and Giannis literally like had meetings with the ownership group to pick the head coach. Like,
yeah.
And that was before anyone else knew about that and after we got hired. So I'm going to assume that they've had discussions, and they probably told Jrue, like, hey, we're exploring a trade for Damian Lillard, and, we think you'll be the centerpiece of it. Just want to let you know, because it's also very weird. I have not seen a lot of Jrue Holiday at the practice facility or at these training sessions with the other guys, at least from what's been posted on social media. So that was very weird to me the whole offseason, but it is what it is. But
yeah. No, I love Drew, man.
Yeah,
I'm actually really excited for him to be on the Blazers.
If he stays in Portland, man, Portland fans will obviously losing a player like Damian Lillard is a lot, but gaining a person that's is just as great of a person as Damian Lillard is awesome. Yeah, especially for a fan base.
Portland is one of those fan bases where, if you're a great person, we're gonna love you forever. It doesn't matter how. Yeah. If you're a 4-point per game scorer, there are guys that'll like show up randomly in like EuroLeague highlights, and I see Blazer fans flood comments still. It's because it's like, I don't know. It's a small market. You gotta really. You gotta appreciate players while you have them because they go away pretty fast.
Yeah,
but for sure. I'm excited for Drew. I hope he stays on the team. I think he could
at least for a little
play.
Bit.
Yeah, at least half a season or a season because I think he could play a pivotal role. And it's something that Chris Paul talked about where I'm pretty sure at first Chris Paul wasn't super big on going to OKC and being a developmental piece for 1 year. But then he's like, I saw an interview. I can't remember what podcast it was on, but he was talking about it, and he was like,
"Was it JJ?"
It was one of the greatest. It might have been JJ, and it was one of the best decisions or like best times of his career. Like seeing
he had a big flux in how he had a big flux in how he went about his business after he got traded to OKC after Houston for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts. Otherwise, we could probably wrap up. It's a sick trade. This is super sick. Obviously, Damon Giannis is sick. So I don't know if you guys have anything else that you guys want to talk about in terms of this trade. No. One thing I do want to bring up though, in terms of the Eastern Conference now, this is completely a 2-man race. Like there's no teams that are coming close to the rosters that Milwaukee or Boston have. And honestly, in the entire NBA, I don't think there's a team that comes close to Boston or Milwaukee's top to bottom roster. Denver's close, but that bench unit, if like we've talked about, if they don't develop, and even our guy Shad, he said it, if this bench unit doesn't develop how we think it can, it's going to be a problematic time. But so this should be, and also this just makes the season more fun.
Yeah,
getting small market stars together is always awesome.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fun, and it's good. No drama going into the season. Finally done with the trade saga. The aggregators can calm down.
Yeah, I can't wait for the Timberwolves Bucks finals in 8 months from now. It's going to be a movie.
Yeah,
it's going to be a movie.
Blazers Bucks finals.
Yeah, I'll have to fly you guys up to Milwaukee so we can watch this team cook.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
But anyways, I think that'll pretty much wrap up. Our normal episode normally comes out on Fridays. We're actually going to be pushing it back. We're either going to release it Saturday at some point or Sunday, depending on how it goes. Maybe we'll wait till early next week as well, maybe because of other stuff, but we'll see. Because we figured we'd just do an episode right away, just talk about this. But we'll be continuing with division previews the next time you hear from us. If you want to keep updated with all of that, follow us down below Soul Hoops Pod on Twitter. We do pretty good notifications on when stuff is going to be coming out or when stuff is released. Ryan uploaded a video yesterday talking about the biggest questions of every NBA team entering the season.
Please watch.
Probably 2 of those are absolutely nothing now. 2 of the Bucks and Portland sections are probably completely irrelevant to the rest of the video, but everything else was great in there. And then outside of that, have a great rest of your weekend. Peace out.
Yep.
Peace.